Welcome to the Newton and Willows FC podcast. Each episode we'll be bringing you news, reviews and previews and everything Newton and Willows FC. The boys, the girls, the men, the ladies, the kids, everyone. Are you a player? Are you a coach? Are you a fan? Come on and listen to this amazing episode. Hi and welcome to the Newton and Willow FC podcast with me, Rob Fludder, and this week, the chairman, Andy Tither, and our first ever video pod. Andy, brilliant. Welcome to the pod again.
Oh, thanks for having me. I even managed to have a shave. It took all of 37 seconds tonight, so happy days.
Amazing. I didn't do the same as you, but maybe I should have done. But look, we're here because we've had an amazing year down at the football club with some amazing announcements, and none more so than the King's Award that got announced just a couple of weeks ago. Has it sunk in yet?
No, absolutely not. Yeah, I think I said on the night, so for anyone kind of outside our coach and volunteers group, we were in a bit of a tricky situation with this King's Award. We actually knew about it a few weeks beforehand. I was allowed to share the news with trustees, but it was very strict on who we could and couldn't share it with. So naturally, as a board of trustees, absolutely delighted. And I know we're going to go into why and how, so I'll save that for later. But ultimately, we as a board of trustees wanted to share the news first and foremost with our members, because ultimately the award is for everybody at the sports club. And we thought, well, all of the coaches that do, line marking and plan sessions and are out there in all weathers, it would be really wrong of them to find out at the same time as everybody else. So we were under silence until the 13th of November. And the reason for that is it's King Charles's birthday on the 14th of November, I've since learned. And it's at that point when we could kind of go into the detail and announce it to the general public, it's just been a whirlwind, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be here on that night that we announced it, and it's fair to say it went down really, really well with the members and all the coaches and everybody that was there, and it was a little bit emotional at times, wasn't it?
Well, no surprise, I cried. If we were running a sweepstake on that, it would be the worst club fundraiser, I think, in the year, because everyone would have bet he would have done. And actually, I had shed a little tear before that, and I'd watched that video probably 50, 100 times. And when it was announced that we won the King's Awards, we had all the old photographs, and there was some kind of when I first started playing, kind of all the volunteers that I knew growing up, and an accumulation, I think, of 33 years worth of achievement. It was the reaction of the room that got me more than anything else. So the sentiment of the King's Award and everything that we do is one thing, but actually seeing what that meant to other people, and the reaction from social media and direct messages has been absolutely outstanding, really, really overwhelming. So I thank you to the other football clubs and the community groups and individuals with well wishes. We're obviously very, very proud of it, and it's totally unexpected, but it's lovely to be recognised when it happens.
Absolutely, and we did a pod dedicated to it where we had the councillors on, Councillor Banks, and but since then, just recap how and why did we get that award? Because I think it's still important we don't forget those reasons, right?
Yeah, so around about 18 months ago, Councillor David Banks approached us, and I didn't know about the award, if I'm being totally transparent with everyone here. And he notified us that he was going to nominate us for the King's Award for Voluntary Service. And the first question is, what is it? And he explained that it's effectively the equivalent of a volunteer group gaining an MBE. There was one other group within the Newton and Willows community, Newton and Earlstown Community Group, who do some unbelievable work for the town, including the town show where everyone gets behind. So for me, it just felt an honour to be nominated, if I'm being totally honest. I notified the trustees at that point because we didn't know what that meant, and ultimately as the process went on, the mayor at the time, Councillor Jeanette Banks, endorsed us, which is why we got them both on the pod. So she wrote a letter of support for the work that we do in the community. And then, we had to go through a lot of documentation. We had to meet with representatives of the King's Award for Voluntary Service. We talked about the club from where it started, what its ethos and philosophy is, and where we want to take it as well. So we elaborated on our kind of future plans as well, and how we want to grow different diverse pathways, and ultimately just be a football club whereby people from the community can come and say, can I play for Newton the Willows FC? And the answer is yes, where they don't feel that they're excluded from one particular demographic. So that's, in a nutshell, how it happened.
It's a really lovely story, and I can't help, every time we say, or you say, or anybody says MBE, you know, it's the equivalent of that. That's huge. You know, I don't know. I was fortunate enough to do the podcast with you. I was fortunate enough to be on the announcement. I'm fortunate enough to listen to it again, and it still doesn't sink in. We're at the club, right? There's some members of the club sitting here. People might be out there having fun.
Yeah.
You're not hearing anybody moan behind me.
No.
They're just socialising, having a great time. We've got people, you know, behind you that have got their signatures because they're captain Newton Willows RUFC, and it's massive. When you look around it, it's a local football club that's got the equivalent of an MBE.
I just keep saying it. It is good to hear. Yeah, I think for me, and I might have mentioned words to this effect on the podcast, that now that it's there, it's. I know that there's no higher point, but actually one of the questions that our former chairman Jeff said, well, if that's the current highest award, what is the next highest award that we can go for? You know, so we want to try and be better at what we do. You know, he wants another award. He wants to speak to somebody to create an award that we can strive for. But ultimately, for me, and he said it in tongue in cheek, but for me, it's about the values of what the award are about, and the reason why we have been recognised. And I think what it's done is it's just lit a fire again to a ship that was sailing very, very well. Actually, fire and water and ships don't usually go well together, do they?
Not typically.
Not typically. Let me revert back on that. We were doing all right. I can't think of a clever analogy. And everyone's energy level and enthusiasm has just gone 100-fold, and probably given me a bit of a kick up the you-know-what, in the fact that, do we recognise our volunteers enough? I think that they know that they're appreciated, but I could probably do, and we as a club could probably do a little bit more, just by the kind of byproduct of what we've had to deliver, and the level of enthusiasm and engagement. Actually, you know what, we can't do this without our volunteers and other like-minded groups as well, which was recognised in the presentation.
Amazing. Well, I think we should say a big cheers to the award. So cheers to everybody. Well done. Cheers. And you mentioned Jeff there. You know, he spoke well at the announcement, and I'd never met the guy before. He come across really well. But one of the things that was mentioned was the standard of the club. What's expected. How the club is run, and on and off the field, primarily off the field. You know, you have to set a load of standards there so that on the field we can just go about our way. That must be something that we have to focus on and keep a core value to this club, right?
Well, I put a message in our trustees group, and I said, I feel like I have got the best and strongest team behind me. So often, you know, I'm the one that does these podcasts and will be public facing, and that's kind of my role, as I suppose more out of longevity with the football club than anything else. And people, you know, will be familiar with me from, you know, bringing teams through at the academy and whatnot. And Kerry's definitely taken over that mantle now. I'm not going to. It might be different in a generation's time, but for the time being, I think that people feel that they can come to me and they can speak, and we can talk about like future plans like we're going to do tonight. But undoubtedly there are so many unsung heroes that I work with. I mean, I'll name a few now, right? So Chris Walker is our treasurer. Imagine the role of a treasurer of an organisation that's 100k plus, right? How many lines you've got to do on that bank statement, reconciliation, all of those things that if we don't have sound accounts, then we effectively can't go for grants. So that means that then we can't diversify the way we want to do as quickly as we would like to do. So he kind of sets a real strong foundation for other people to then like propel on. But Chris is not always in the public eye. But he has to write to the Charity Commission and validate those accounts every single year. And I have to sign them off, and I am not good with numbers, right? And he explains it to me, and he like exec summaries and everything that he puts in that report. It is detailed to the exact penny. He is absolutely unbelievable. And then, we talk about Dave Tyers, who's our General Secretary. So he spoke on the evening as well. And Dave has been involved in the club for a number of years, but all of the things like having our registers up to date. So, this is where I'm going to bring Rebecca Mellin in. DBS checks. We've got over 100 volunteers. Those DBS checks sadly just don't magic themselves. She's given up her evenings and doing these DBS checks to keep them in line. Tom, our accreditation man, which we'll speak about later, he's ensured that we are fully compliant in line with FA guidelines. And the list kind of goes on and on. Louise is our Warrington Junior League secretary who attends the meetings and is our font of knowledge. And Kerry Morris does all of our player pathways. And there's 14 trustees, so in the interest of time, I won't name every single one of them. But they really are valued by me because ultimately, and it's not just these current level of trustees, it's the committee members that have gone before us in different generations. They're the ones that have effectively seen the growth of the football club under Jeff's leadership prior to me. And hopefully we do that justice with that with the name of that award.
Oh, absolutely. And then I suppose that's seamlessly moving on to what that sets for the future, because those standards are there. And like you say, generations have passed and new generations will naturally have to take over. But, if I was to take over a business, ideally you want it in a good state, and then you can build on that, can't you?
Yeah.
You don't want to have to go and dig it out of a hole because it's not. Accounts are in a good state, the foundations are in a good state, the standards are in a good state. That must be, for you sat there, and we will talk about some other news that we've got going on, but if you look to the future, that must feel really nice as the chairman of Newton Willows FC.
It's so stable, and I feel like we're a really well-oiled machine in the fact that we've got, to quote Jeff Taylor, square pegs in square holes, and I think he used that a couple of times of the evening. But he's absolutely right. I mentioned before about numbers. I haven't got an accounting bone in my body, but do you know what? Chris Walker is absolutely the right man to do that. Tom Cunningham, what he's done with the grants. James Styles going through his UEFA B qualifications and being kind of pitch side and looking at developing kind of coaches from within and so on and so on. I feel like we've accumulated a really, really good group of people, a strong group of people who, by the way, don't always agree on things. I think it's really important that it's transparent, that we will challenge each other and say, I don't think that's quite the right path. That's fine. That's absolutely right. That's democracy. And it's healthy. So I feel with the group of people that we've got, the 14 trustees that are currently in post, and definitely the ones that have gone before them, without them, and the coaches and the volunteers and the partners that we've got, we just simply wouldn't have been nominated for this award, let alone win it.
Absolutely, and that shines through because, again, I will go back to that announcement evening. When you say about the trustees, and sometimes people don't realise, I think there was a natural appreciation from the coaches that were there.
Yeah.
And we pass that appreciation back to the coaches as well, because they do a lot. And I'm party to be a part of some of the WhatsApp groups that are going on, and you get people say, I'm down at the club Saturday and Sunday for 2 hours.
Yeah.
If you want to come and collect your medical kits, your first aid kits, and this, that, and the other, your raffle tickets. And just the amount of time and effort people give. Yeah. They're not being nudged. They want to do the right thing. So this award really is for all of that effort as well, isn't it?
No, it is. And I think as well, what we try to do at Newton Willows FC is give people autonomy to go and do it. This is not dictatorship. I really, really hate hierarchy. So I know that if you were looking at an organisational chart, the chairman sits at the top. But ultimately, when I go watch a game of football, I'm their biggest fan, and I will be passionate. And I've actually been on the touchline, and parents have stopped cheering for their own children. I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. Like, don't think because I'm here that it has to be that. Actually, I want you to get behind them. There's a way of being loud and passionate. Yeah, don't have a do at the ref. Don't say the wrong thing. But please, I'm there as a fan. I look at it like if we've got, 500 junior members. So what's that? Let's say 2,000 members, if it's an average of 4 per family. I'm just one of the 2,000. Like, my fellow trustees are just one of the 2,000. Nobody's getting paid for this. So the coaches, to the parents, to the kids, to the adults, sponsors, we've talked about them previously in podcast, community groups that help us, schools that allow us to use the facilities. This award really is genuinely for everyone. I met with, we'll talk about the FA in a moment, but I met with them and the Football Foundation recently, and St Helens Council, and I said, the award is as much for you as it is for us. Ultimately, without these blossoming partnerships, we wouldn't be able to do what we do, and it's because we do what we do we've won the award, so take the congratulations too.
That's a nice touch, and I suppose it's those people that may not realise how much they contribute and move forward and help the club move forward. And that brings us nicely, because moving forward is all about, that's what it's all about, right? You build bricks, you've got great foundations, and we get recognised.
Yeah.
But you have to do a little bit more than that. But it doesn't just happen, so some things take a little bit of time, and it's probably a good opportunity to formally announce publicly on audio, video and everything, we've got a new home to play at.
We have, or we soon will be. Yeah, so King George V playing fields, I mean, if we had a pound where I'd mention KGV in managers' meetings or whatever forum, we'd be able to pay for 3G pitches 10 times over, right? It's been a long-standing ambition of the football club, and I felt that this forum would be quite good to be open in terms of where we are now, maybe the journey of how we got there, so people have got an understanding, and ultimately how we want to work with the community with it as an asset, because it is so important to me. But yeah, we received some really good news last week. I watched my first and probably last cabinet meeting at St Helens Council with bated breath, whereby ultimately our application for King George V playing fields was passed. And ultimately what that means is that we can now work with the council on negotiating a term of lease, 25 years plus, and once that is in place, then we can look at doing some really magnificent things at the facility.
Amazing news, right?
Yeah.
I know I haven't been part of this setup in whichever way I am, delivering some words and having guests on, right? But every time I've been down at the club and a part of the team or the members, that need and that desire comes up every time. And it must be amazing now. It's there.
Yeah, it's there, and we had a look at the kind of the records, the archives. This journey started 61 months ago.
Wow!
So it was October 2020 when we first entered negotiations with the council. The council seemingly didn't want to have it as an asset and a liability, and approached us. We were current users of the site primarily for 11v11 games, and then latterly we've evolved that to be a home for all formats of the game, and particularly for our girls' game, as there's a ruling that, and quite rightly so, that there need to be toilet facilities on site. So a lot of the facilities around here don't have that, or are not open on Sundays when the girls play. So we kind of made that our home for girls, and then we've expanded that to games on a Saturday, and it's become, it feels like home for us already. But we always thought that until that heads of terms is signed, the lease is signed, that there's only so much that we can do with the facility. And the council, do you know what, they've been really good to us. They've listened to us. They've done a lot of maintenance work. It's in the last 2 years, the facility itself and the grass maintenance has been really good. We're certainly seeing more games on than it was off, and there was a time when, think about raining KGB, it's not gonna happen. So hats off to the council. They have listened, they have tried to help us, but I'm just so excited about what we can do with the facility, and the genuine, being totally honest, I don't know what yet we can do with the facility, but I know that we've got plenty of land to play with, and that will absolutely secure our future for not just my tenure, but 5 chairmans later than me.
Amazing. And yeah, good shout out to the council, because, let's be honest, local councils don't always get credit.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see that does. But that you've done that, Andy. But what does that do for the actual teams that are playing up and down different primary schools, making different phone calls, going, what does that do for our teams on a Saturday and Sunday?
Well, I think the first thing is, I don't want this to come across that we are walking away from the schools. Absolutely not. The schools have been unbelievable for us. And the big thing with it is we've not been able to grow at the rate that we want to grow. And we have accelerated from 15 teams to 40 odd teams in a relatively short space of time. But we can do more. We can offer more diverse pathways. We can do things in the day. So what it allows us to do is probably grow at a rate where we don't feel that we're holding back, because we've had times where we thought that's going to be another squeeze, training night, winter training, another pitch, another team to be played on. So we absolutely want to work with the schools, and we'll continue to work with the schools. But I feel that having a central hub of junior football in the first instance will be magnificent. And you know, if you think about, we've got the 3G facility in the primary schools at the minute as an example. We work on a bit of a rotation basis on the 3G. Myself and Tom, who does the Sunday fixtures, we've got a tracker which says who's played where, and where possible we will put the small-sided non-competitive teams on the 3G pitch. We have to give priority to the competitive teams, because sadly if that game is cancelled then it just adds to pressure later on down the year. But where fixtures allow, you know, we work on a rotation base, and I say KGV as a bit of we've got a bit of a model to work towards there. But I think having the majority of juniors in one place with a little club shop and watching the under sevens match finishes, we'll go and watch the under 16s. You know, they're brilliant. They play some really good football. Can the coaches kind of then feel like, oh, I really know who you are? Because we found that, barring the managers' meetings and the socials, that coaches are working in silo a little bit. But how good would it be for, I don't know, let's use an under-8 coach who is currently playing 5v5, and if he had the opportunity at KGV to go and have a watch of our 7v7 games, which is where they're going to be the following season, and strike a bit of a rapport and get the kids to kind of mix and maybe do joint training sessions together or internal friendlies, that can only be a good thing. And I think socially as well, I think the biggest gain that we'll get, it's definitely going to be pitches, but socially is going to come a very, very close second. And I think that transition into high school for a lot of our children will be made easier by the fact that you have got, you know, year 4s playing with current year 7s or year 8s, and it's like, oh, you play for Newton, don't you? Yeah, you do.
And it's not just a kit that's recognisable, it's people, right? It's people. But also, it must be good for away teams. When they come to Newton, it's not, oh, where's that school, where's that park, where's this bit? Yeah. Actually, everybody's going to know where to go, and it just gives that, again, that uniformity around the club. And like you said, an opportunity to grow, but maybe that opportunity to reciprocate. So, like you said, the schools have been fantastic, and maybe they might need those fields, that facility in the daytime, in Monday to Friday when there's no football going on, right?
It was part of the bid, and this was always been my thinking all along. And you know, within the presentation of the King's Award, we highlighted some community groups that we work really closely with, and we like a reciprocal relationship. So Davies Acts of Random Kindness, Newton and Earlstown Community Group, Business for Youth, and I've missed one at the Community Centre, sorry. And those 4 organisations have always been really supportive of us. And we have given back to those groups. You know, we've run quiz nights and fundraisers and donated to food banks and invited them to some of our socials. And, you know, it's been a really, really good two-way street. But you know what? There are loads of community groups out there that we would love to work with even more. And if we had a facility where, you know, people could come and use it in the daytime, I mean, the possibilities are then, like, endless. I've always had this thing with the schools that I used to love. When I was at St Peter's Primary School, that was my school, the away days of going to the likes of Wargrave and Newton Primary, and I saw some like rivals that played for the Sunbeam, as it was called then, now NLWFC, and I thought, well, that was a big thing for me. I used to love those days where it's like I was in year 5 and mixing with the year 6s, so I felt like a bigger boy. And then it was like, we've got to be on this today, we've got to do, and it felt like a really, really good thing. So one of the things that I put within the bid, and I genuinely mean this, is daytime use for schools. I would love Newton and Willows FC to hold our own tournaments on King George V playing fields. I'd love to do that for both boys and girls, and mixed, right? Because why not? Just give the opportunities. So it's things like that where I feel that this will be a real community asset, far and away beyond what we're like for our own selfish reasons, so to speak, and for any kind of residents that local to King George V playing fields, or anyone thinking, oh, that's a big open space that's going to be enclosed, you know, what's going to happen. I think I want to try and set do a bit of myth busting here. So the first thing is, it's not going to be exclusively for Newton Willows FC. This is going to be a community asset for all of those reasons that I've explained. Yes, we do want it enclosed, but when you're going for bids of upwards of £1 million, there is little point doing that, and it basically becomes a liability to the football club if it's not enclosed. So we will have to do that. Now, whether that's all of the field or whether that's a portion of the field, or whether the council decide, well, actually there is enough open space elsewhere and it will improve facilities. The gates might be locked on King George V playing fields, right? And we don't know how much of that is going to be locked up yet, genuinely. But what I will say is that the council have made it abundantly clear that there will be a replicated open space in the not too distant future in the locale of King George V playing fields. So it seems like the community's winning twice over, really.
Amazing, and I don't think it takes too much of an inspector to work out where that open space will be, but let's not go there until it's official. But you say the gates close and then open up to the local community. Absolutely fantastic news. I would say maybe not for those that want to practice their chipping on golf or motocross, because that
might be frowned upon by the Football Foundation. I mean, the thing about King George V playing fields, and there are loads of them across the country, and it has to be used for sport and recreational. So there's never a doubt that this was going to be sold off for houses and whatever else. So the green space will remain green. Football pitches are green. Aesthetically, in the local, it is going to look kind of how it looks now, but better. And I've had some really interesting conversations so far with the council about which direction we take. And I suppose where we're at with it is the council, the community asset transfer team, are going to send us as a board of trustees my email, but shared with people who know what they're doing. Kevin Liston's our legal representative, and he knows he's got a job on his hands. He will go through the heads of terms, because what we need to do is we need to make sure that I kind of foresee myself being a bit of a middleman, forever the middleman, some would say. Like, we've just got good people around me. But yeah, they will send us the heads of terms, and it's got to be agreeable where it protects the football club first and foremost, because we don't want to take on some unnecessary liabilities. So it's got to work really well with us, and we work with the FA team that's already kind of lined up. It's also got to work for the council, and it's also got to work for our funders, because they may say, well, actually, you need to have this within the lease, because that's going to unlock £2 million, right? And if you don't have that line in that says it exactly like that, then you're not going to get your £2 million. And I'm throwing £2 million out there. It sounds a good number, but that's where potentially we're entering those kind of discussions. So that will be sent to me around about January time. They're hoping for December, but Christmas leave and whatnot. We would then do our own due diligence. We'd work with the FA. Our mentor, Mark Hilton, has already offered to do it. Liverpool County FA, I met with them and the Football Foundation very recently. And we will look to make sure that there is a lease where all of those parties are agreeable. And we might have to compromise some things. So there may be, hypothetically speaking, a portion of the field which is an open space. And that's fine. I'm up for those, negotiations, and I don't want to be seen as the big bad wolf that's just like shutting the gates and nobody's allowed in. It's totally the opposite of that. We absolutely want inclusivity with our community.
It sounds very promising, but these things do take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
So although the news is really good news and everybody will be buzzed up by it, realistically, do we have a time when we think we can really start to use it and play our first matches there?
So there are two angles to go down here. And this was not what I was prepared for when I met with the organisations that I've just mentioned. So nothing can happen until we sign that document. So until that lease is signed, funding is a no-go, and funding is what's going to make it. And there's planning and there's all sorts. So we reckon with a good wind, the best case scenario is 18 months. The more realistic would be 2 years, subject to change. But you're looking at 18 to between 1.5 to 2.5 years before a spade, like, not when a spade gets put in the ground, but when it's finished and it's signed off. But the reason why I say that there's two angles is, one of the... Originally, when we set out on this crusade 61 months ago, our first thought was, let's get the asset, let's have it enclosed to some degree, and then let's really work on those grass pitches to make it quality playing surface, community hub, all of those things that I've mentioned. And phase 2 would be, let's go down the 3G route, because that would be brilliant for training. That's one of the reasons why we can't grow, because although we've got a lot of slots on the 3G, which is a legacy thing from how long we've been going, it's still actually not enough for all the teams we've got. I think we've got something like 27 slots for 40 teams. So do the math. We have to compromise a little bit on certain days, and that's kind of been in the back of our mind to now. The interesting thing with the 3G is the borough of Newton the Willows and surrounding areas has actually been earmarked for 2 3G pitches. We've got 1. And my thoughts were, well, OK, you've got that wonderful one at Newton Health and Fitness. So you've now got an 11-a-side on the back of that. Wouldn't it make absolute sense to build them back to back? Because that's what all 3 football clubs and other sports need. But after conversations with the relevant organisations, there is a world of problems with that, and most notably highways, because it's so close to the motorway. I'm led to believe as well that the council don't necessarily want to take on another liability, because for round numbers, the Newton Health 3G facility that we were involved, one of 5 partner clubs, including the 2 rugby sections and Vulcan and Ostown, we were one of the 5, and that cost around about £700,000. Yeah.
Okay.
But actually, hear me out, that was one of the cheaper ones. And the reason why it was cheaper is because infrastructure was already there. It was a conversion of an Astro to a 3G. What we may look to do, and again, it's all a timing thing with funding, so it may be more favourable to go for our own 3G facility on King George V playing fields, knowing that we can fill the slots, knowing that we might be able to engage a multi-sport operation because of our base here at Newton Sports Club, and we might go down that route, which potentially could be quicker or could be longer. So all bets are open. Your guess is as good as mine. I think what we need to do first is we need to get this lease agreed with St Helens Council, protect the football club, protect the council, make sure that the funding is eligible for County FA and Football Foundation and Sport England, and then work from that. So it may be that grass pitches are a real focus. That's where you're going to get most of your funding, or it may be that there's a flavour for 3G. So both are actually on the table right now.
Well, I don't think people realise the amount of effort and a lot of consideration that goes into this. So I suppose the ask from everybody at the club, please be patient.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not an overnight piece.
That's so ironic coming from me, because my role in this has been to be very impatient. I've been on at the council, and actually I think it's worth just probably making a bit of a public apology and a bit of a thank you, because the council do get a really bad rap. And I'm not talking about our local councillors within the area, but I'm talking about the wider teams. I mean, ultimately, there is red tape beyond red tape beyond red tape. And as you learn lessons as you go through a process like this, ultimately, I was banging my head against a brick wall until it was up for community asset transfer. And, if I could wind the clock back 5 years, I would do things so differently. And I've been emailing and phone calling and hounding people saying, we want to grow, you want rid of the asset, let's get moving, what's the hold up? So to those people, firstly, sorry, not sorry, it needed to be done, but real thank you. And the local councillors, I mean, we've mentioned a couple of them already, the 3 that have really helped. I mean, there's every councillor in the town and the borough have lent the support, and we're really grateful for that. But in particular, Councillor David Banks and Councillor Jeanette Banks and Sevi Gomez-Aspron, from the offset when we started 61 months ago, have been right in our corner and fighting that battle for us. So to those, I'm really grateful.
Nice shout out. But listen, sometimes when we have to be persistent, right, and it shows our commitment and that we're serious about something. Because if you just say, there's my application, I'll sit back and wait, then maybe people don't take it so serious. So look, everybody, it's good, it's great news. Just be a bit patient. Yeah. It will get there. I'm sure you'll be part of the plans and whatever going forward.
And I think what I want to do is I want to try and be as really transparent about it, because you're in danger of being a bit of a secret squirrel and, it's been 6 months, what's happened? So I'm really happy to keep sharing the news. I think that's important, not just for our own members, but I appreciate that there may be an impact from a community perspective as well. So we will be transparent. We'll work with the council. We're not trying to do anything underhandedly. We've been granted permission for the asset. It's subject to us both agreeing at this stage, so nothing is done. And at the moment, we don't know what those negotiations look like. But yeah, it's absolutely amazing news, and I sense more relief than anything else at this moment. But I kind of also feel like the hard work starts now.
Yeah.
Like the last 61 months, probably I'll look back and go, that was a breeze, really. Now we're talking some serious graft now. Got the right team to do it, as I'm sure you won't be too surprised.
100%, but the graft, but a bit of fun doing that as well, because, subject to those negotiations coming favourably, the graft is in our gift, right?
Yeah.
Before that, it wasn't. It was please, 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 can I, if that goes forward. So 2 bits of great news on, new awards, acquisition, areas to allow us to grow. But it's important that we don't forget consistency.
Yeah.
And that consistency was demonstrated again very recently in our accreditation. So it's like it just happened at the same sort of time as all this. So talk to us about the accreditation, Andy. What does it mean? Because there may be some new members to the club that have just taken it for granted that maybe don't realise what it is.
Yeah, 3 great bits of news that came at once from a footballing perspective, and yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind month. And I think the best way I can describe accreditation is I try and liken it to something that everybody's familiar with. So those that have got kids in school, Ofsted will go in every so often and they will say, you're at this tier, you're at the middle tier, and you're at the highest tier. And 1 and 2 star accreditation is really not bad at all. Let's get that myth out there. There are loads of brilliant 1 and 2 star clubs that are actually on the club programme with us that we've learned loads from. So it doesn't mean to say that you are, up there and you do everything perfectly, but effectively the FA do those assessments, and it's things like coaches having the relevant first aid, safeguarding, DBS checks, having so many UEFA C coaches, UEFA B coaches, so those people that give 6 to 12 months of their life to go and progress, having such diverse pathways, so girls, disability football, having a certain amount of teams within the different segments. So if you think about 7 to 10 as one segment, you might then have under 10s to under 14s as another segment, and then under 15s to under 18s, and then adults. And effectively we've ticked every single one of those boxes, and that's great that we've ticked the boxes, but we've wanted to tick the boxes, but we've also we believe in what the FA are ultimately trying to do, and we try and adopt these things first before anybody else can, because we get a good steer from the FA. Disability football is a cracking example. We wanted to do it well. So 3 years ago we started to have those conversations. There was a grant out there where we could effectively pay somebody to go and deliver disability-specific trainer. Connor's been on the pod, hasn't he?
Yeah,
and because I don't want to turn up, and Kerry would be the other one that says, I'll give that a go, but I don't want to just give it a go. I want to have those kids to have the best person for the job, basically. And that's where we try and exceed kind of those standards. So it's all very well having a standard, but we're all, as a board of trustees, we're going, what next? What next? What next? And I think that was recognised by the fact that we got the 3-star accreditation yesterday I think it was, when we made the announcement. So yeah, again, a big thank you to the people behind the scenes, the trustees who know what they are, the coaches that do, ultimately we're a football club, all of those people that, have that community focus as well, off the field activities. But Tom Cunningham is the guy who I have to give some credit to, and I know he's very shy and doesn't like the limelight, does our Tom, but he's put in so much work to this. Badgered people to do the stuff. He's worked all the portals. He basically is. Now we're accredited. Tom will start next year's accreditation immediately. He'll be looking and going, your course is expiring, we're on you, because we're not losing this 3-star accreditation. If we don't have 3-star accreditation, then we don't get King Joseph playing fields. If we don't have 3-star accreditation, we're not in any reckoning for King's Award, and so on and so on. So it's a curriculum that we have to follow, but we want to follow it, and we want to look and go, that we do that, we're ticking that box, but let's just not tick the box. Let's go and do it a bit better.
It's really important that people understand that it's not just a given.
No.
I've worked in industry and you know, I've got canteens, right? And we get the 5-star hygiene award, you know, food safety, etc. And it becomes a given because you set a standard, and we talk about standards already.
Yeah.
You go there, right? But anybody that thinks you can fall below that standard, forget it, right? And we're very complimentary on this podcast, and I know your meeting's very complimentary, but sometimes you have to remind people that, you know, those last 2 bits of cracking information and news that we've had, it's hard work, and you have to play your part. And if you're going to be a volunteer, if you're going to pick up a coaching a team, and if you're going to do you go through your coaching badges and anything else, you've got to upkeep it.
And I think environment is a really probably overused word, but I think it's pertinent in this instance, because if you think about, I mean, at meetings we will have to say discipline, right? Discipline is the one where you go, oh, right, okay, so this is not going to be good news, is it? The FA are saying this, and they're encouraging this, and we've had this instance where, and we're not angels, by the way, we do have disciplinary cases, but I think what we're really good at is we will nip it in the bud, and we will reset those expectations really quickly. Like, we have to have an exemplary reputation, because otherwise all of those things, again, don't happen. So there's so many things that go into accreditation, King's Award, King George V. I mean, why would anyone say, there you go, Newton Willows, there's King George V playing fields, right? You've got a really, really bad reputation. Like, you get loads of red cards and yellow cards, and you bring rubbish people into society because you just let them run wild. So let's help you to do that, but do it more. Yeah. They're not going to do that. So we've got to have those values. We've got to be true to the values. They've got to just kind of mean more than tick in the box. But ultimately, that's the process we have to go down. And I think what we need to do now, we've got that 3-star accreditation, is at our next trustees meeting, we'll go, we're doing that really well. That's great, we've ticked the box, but let's do it better. What does 25-26 season look, 26-27 season look like, and 27-28 and 29-30 and so on?
Absolutely. And you know, again, I'm not going to apologise for repeating. Getting that type of accreditation is foundation for all of the good stuff, to allow the club to grow, to have that great name in the community. You know, it could be easily forgotten, you know, because it is a tough environment. Sometimes it's very passionate, the game we have. You know, we can forget ourselves and where we are. But again, it's that standard, and, you know, that comes through in volumes, and we get those sort of bits. So well done to everybody. Not forget to say well done for that as well, because... Again, it takes hard work, and it takes values and mentality to do that. Yeah. On a lighter note, some more good news that happened in the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Yeah, there's been a new member to the Tither family.
and last member of the Tither family as well.
Does Mrs. Tither agree with that?
Absolutely.
We've
taken matters into our own hands in that respect.
Fair play, well done.
You don't know what time this is being aired, but let's just leave it at that.
Absolutely.
No, we were delighted. We've been trying for a while. We've gone through IVF. I'm dead open with people about it, and we've been successful twice. So I've got a stepson, Joseph, who's 22, plays and now coaches for Newton. Obviously, you'd have to. And Violet and Latterly Harrison is 1 month old today, actually. And it's, I can't believe I've been let out to do this, to be quite honest. But yeah, it's been brilliant. I'm fortunate that I've got extended paternity leave as well, so I'm getting to spend until January with them. It's been challenging. We've had trips to the hospital, nothing for anything major, but just really inconvenient things like weight loss and jaundice, and the poor lad's not really had a good run of it, but touch wood, he's going. And of course, yes, he is going to play for Newton Willows. He is going to join academy at 2 years old. I am going to offer my services to Kerry for the next 5 years at academy and beyond, hopefully. So yeah, and now Violet's old enough to go to Wildcats as well and showing an interest in football, so I might be one of those that's coaching 2 teams and being chairman of the football club.
Amazing. That's great news. And how was Violet taken to be in Big Sister all of a sudden?
She's grown up about 10 years since it happened. She is the first to, when he cries, she's the first over.
Oh.
She lets him know that she's his big sister every time, and I think that's maybe a little bit of territory, like, I am the big sister here, you know, and when you're older I'm going to share my toys with you, but not all of my toys. So, but honestly, it's been really lovely to see the two of them bond, and Joseph definitely into that as well. Obviously, there's a big age gap of 22 years between his brother and 18 years between his sister. So that is something that I didn't quite expect, but it's been lovely nonetheless. And I think for me, like my job is quite demanding. I travel the length and breadth of the country. I work in sales, and you've got to go and chase the money where you can. So the fact that I've got 2 months with my daughter, I'm spending a lot of time with her and my son. I think it's really, really nice. So
amazing. That just brings everything you do outside of work, inside of work, the club, and really humbles everybody to go, oh yeah, there's things that matter. And you've got a ready-made babysitter in Joseph as well, because he's at an age where
he'll be in here most weekends, so I doubt it. I think what I would say is if you start getting emails at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, just put me on silent, because I might be up at daft o'clock, and what else am I going to be thinking about, right? So
absolutely, just maybe not the voice note.
No, definitely not the voice note,
because that might keep people awake. But just congratulations to you and the family. It's been an amazing year at Newton Willows.
Yeah.
Some great news, but the back in the year, it's all consolidated, and then we head into Christmas. You got new family, King's Award, hopefully a new pitch. It all looks very good. What football team is Harrison going to support? That's really important.
He's United, or he's homeless, to be fair.
Yeah, we'll take him in, because I think NSPCC need to get in contact, and if you're going to put him through that.
If I'm going to be miserable, he's going to be miserable. Violet is. Joseph is a Liverpool fan. Yeah, I know. It's tough at the moment in our house.
Not for you at the moment. They're having a tough one, aren't they?
Listen, when United are taking the mickey out of you, it's bad. But no, it's passing it down, isn't it? For me, like my dad passed it down to me, and yeah, he'll be doing the same. I just wanted to say, Rob, actually, before I think we're winding up with this now. There's a lot of news coming at the football club. Genuinely, to any of our members that have got questions about anything, right? We are, and I keep saying this, we're an open book, and people might not care. That's all right. You might just want to do your football and go home and whatever else, but we are an open book. We are desperately in need of additional volunteers for all of the triumphs that we want to go for. So the appeal for me is ask questions, be inquisitive. You'll get honest answers. There's no hidden agenda. But genuinely, we need some help, and not just from a coaching perspective. There might be something in a line of work that you do and you do really well, and you can relieve some pressure off somebody else and do it better. So just be under no illusions. We are an open book. We're happy to help, and we'd be happy for you to help as well.
Well said, and I can back that up. I've been associated since September, coming down, and everybody's been ever so friendly, really willing to come on and help and do everything. So, look, amazing episode, some great news, and we look forward to the future. And if I don't speak to you again on the podcast, which I'm sure I will, but Merry Christmas to you and the family.
Merry Christmas to everyone at Newton.
If you enjoyed that episode, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button, like it, love it, share it. If you want to come onto the podcast, drop us a note on all the socials, or if you want to nominate someone coming on, that'd be amazing. We've got some amazing guests coming up again soon. Newton Willows FC, Forza Newton.